Hello, everybody. It's Ed Rosenberg, and this afternoon I am speaking to Briana from Tophatter. Briana, how you doing this afternoon?
Good, Ed. How are you?
I'm doing good, and we'll jump right into it. Amazon Prime Day, biggest internet sales day in history, the last 2 days actually. How does it affect a marketplace like Tophatter?
That's a great question. So I would say that it actually doesn't really impact us, and I'll tell you why. So when buyers go to Amazon, it's a very search intent type of environment, right? What we're really known for is providing fun and engagement to our buyers. So we're more of a discovery-based marketplace, whereas buyers are coming to us, maybe not even necessarily knowing what they want, but really discovering, unique products through our live auction format and our buy now format. So on our side, we do a lot with regards to buyer loyalty programs. So we're not necessarily asking our sellers to take a deep cut on their pricing. We more so invest and do the marketing on our end, where we create a lot of buyer loyalty programs, where recently we just did one where we give buyers a badge based off of how much they spend and how many purchases they make. So we've seen a lot of sellers really benefit from that in terms of seeing sales growth.
So you're saying that most of the buyers are going there for the sense of community, for the sense of getting a great deal, for the excitement. You don't really go and you search for something and buy it.
Exactly. So our type of customer is the same person who's going into TJ Maxx or Ross, really looking for a deal, but it's almost like a treasure hunt, right? So not really super heavy on the search piece.
Do you have any crazy deals that people got on the site, like an 18-karat ring for very cheap that you're aware of?
It definitely depends on the category. So I would say probably the biggest discounts we see on high-end items is in the electronics. So we have quite a few sellers who've seen success with branded electronics. So I would say, laptops, TVs. We've seen some amazing deals on Nintendo Switches. We also have some different marketing plays that we can do, specifically like a deal drop, what we call, is where we will do a lot of promotion around these higher ASP good deal items, where we send push notifications out to all of our buyers.
Now the buyers are all in the United States only?
Majority US, but we are seeing some growth in the United Kingdom as well. So what we're starting to do there is really expand, trying to find seller relationships in those regions as well.
Okay, now I know your background is from eBay. I actually know some wonderful people from eBay. How would you say the difference is in the environment and working in a place like Tophatter compared to eBay?
Yeah, I mean, similar to our fast auctions, we move really fast here as well. One of the things that we also really pride ourselves is we have a really strong community and relationship with our sellers. So I talk to sellers all the time, and one of the things I hear a lot is, we really treat our sellers like a person and not just a number. So unlike an eBay or an Amazon, we really make it easy to get in touch with someone. We have live chat available. We're really personable in that regard.
Right. And do you have a big counterfeit problem? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so we have an entire team who manages that. So essentially what happens is if you list a product, we have a specific list of brands that we on our watch list. So our team will review those products every day. If there's any issues, we may put them on hold. In any case, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll ask for receipts up front so that we don't even get into the situation where, we've sold a counterfeit item, the buyer's upset, creates a bad experience for everyone. So we really just try to get it above it.
Are your sellers all the US based only?
No, so we do have sellers in China as well, and we're starting to actually see our seller base grow in India. So we're going to start investing in that region as well.
But your buyers are all mainly United States.
Mainly in the U.S., yes. But part of our initiative this year is to diversify globally. So like I said earlier, United Kingdom, France, those are some of the countries that we really are starting to see organic growth. We do a ton of buyer acquisition. It's really our strong point. And in those regions, we're starting to see things take off organically, which is nice.
Right. What do you think the most opportunity for sellers right now?
Sure. I think there's 3 different ways to look at that. First category speaking, right? Health and beauty. I think last year the industry did something like 18 billion. I think it's super evident that there's so much opportunity there, just looking at how much Amazon has invested in their own private labeling. To get more granular, I think, the men's category. So health and beauty is no longer a category that I think is really just focused on women. With, we look at Hims, we look at Dollar Shave Club, all of these companies really starting to take off. And then to get even more granular than that, but organic products, people are starting to really care about that in a sense of clean products. For us specifically, we've seen hemp and CBD products really take off on our marketplace.
Right. I think Amazon doesn't allow that. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we currently allow it. We do have obviously strict policies in place to make sure that we're not violating any laws there. Again, it's one of those categories that our team really watches closely. And then I think specifically to talk about the other areas I see, obviously private labeling. So finding unique products that aren't super oversaturated, finding the right manufacturer, and then also just the out-of-box experience. So I think sometimes people really underestimate the value in that, is really providing an experience that's going to bring your buyers back to you.
Can you think of a category offhand that's not saturated right now, where there's still growth?
Specifically in overall or specific to Tophatter?
Oh, no, I would say overall.
Yeah, I think it's health and beauty. I think, again, where I see that growth is the men's category, right? So historically, it's been focused on women, but I think we're starting to see more of that shift, and I don't really see a lot of movers and shakers in that specific subcategory right now. I think we're starting to see that. And obviously CBD, I think that's going to start to take off. We're going to start to see a lot there as well.
Right. What do you think is the single most important thing sellers should be thinking about right now?
Definitely diversification. I talk to sellers all the time, and they say, hey, I'm doing so much on Amazon. I'm doing so much on eBay. I don't really have the time to think about another marketplace, which I get, right? If it's not broken, don't fix it. But at the same time, if you're on some of these bigger marketplaces, you really are at the mercy of their policies. On Amazon, you're directly competing with Amazon. So, again, that's something that I think is huge, that you want to make sure that you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
Well, do you think 5 years from now, Amazon will have the same stranglehold, the same percentage on the business, or do you think that it's going to be more spread out?
I think it's going to be more spread out. I mean, just if you look at marketplaces overseas, I think we're starting to see, obviously China is seeing huge growth. JD.com is one of the marketplaces that I think is really taking off. So I think what's really going to kind of change that is how quickly people are evolving and moving with e-commerce.
Is there a reason why you're currently only in the U.S.?
A reason why we're currently only in the U.S.?
Yeah, for buyers.
Yeah, so I think that's just where we've seen most of the demand, and especially, we do have a lot of sellers in the U.S. and China, so logistically speaking, it just made the most sense for us to start there. But like I said, we're exploring other opportunities in different markets with logistics partners to try to really streamline that. I think one of the biggest mistakes some marketplaces make is not fully having the logistics piece figured out. And so we want to make sure we really get that correct before we really start investing in these other regions.
Do you work with any fulfillment centers, like a sort of FBA, or everybody's shipping directly from their warehouse?
Good question. So majority of our sellers are shipping directly from their warehouse, but we do have a partner in the U.S. And we do have several logistics partners in China as well that are helping out with fulfillment.
Right. That makes a lot of sense because to me it seems like most of the mega sellers are doing all FBA. They're not interested in shipping. And that's where if you want to compete with Amazon, I always felt you need to have a logistic piece. This way you could just send it there and everything ships.
Right.
I get this question the most. How should a seller decide what to sell?
I think it depends on the marketplace that they're really targeting, right? Also the region. So I think a lot of times people make a mistake and they try to go into a category. I mean, I see it sometimes here. Electronics is a super competitive category, specifically unbranded. But where I do see a lot of opportunity is we give a lot of insights to our sellers to really tell them which categories are undersaturated, where they should focus. So I think it's more than just the category, but understanding the demand for that category, especially tying that back to the region as well.
Okay, international growth is on many sellers' radars. Where do you think the most potential for growth is?
I think definitely in Asia and Europe as well. So I think, again, the most important thing there is the sky's kind of the limit, but again, just making sure that you're finding a marriage between the products and the region that you're really targeting. And then obviously understanding the tax implications. That's super important, making sure that you are in alignment with all of the laws that are in that specific region.
How are marketplaces engaging their customers on new and engaging ways, and how do sellers benefit?
Great question. So I think Prime Day is a good example, right? So they kind of caused a tide in the industry where we saw so many different retailers, Macy's, Target, Walmart, all of these guys doing, Black Friday and July promotions. So I think obviously offering deals is a way to definitely keep people engaged. But again, going back to what we provide is more of an engaging type of environment where, we are doing all of these different buyer loyalty programs and really investing in our buyers. And I think in turn, that's what our sellers love about us is we're doing a lot of that heavy lifting for them. It's really up to them to just decide how they want to sell the product on our platform.
Are there sellers doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Tophatter?
So majority of that right now is being driven through the auction format. So it really depends on the category. But some of the categories that I really see taking off in the U.S. are home and garden, health and beauty. There's actually a huge opportunity for branded electronics as well. So we are focused on growing more of our buy now piece too, which is going to be great. I know a lot of times I hear from sellers, hey, the auction's risky. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm used to selling on Amazon. So we have an answer to that, and that's our buy now piece, which we're super heavily invested on growing this half of the year.
I mean, if someone's selling an auction, there's always a risk. I mean, you could put a minimum on it, correct?
Correct. So you can set a starting bid. We have reserve pricing. We also have a tool called Campaigns where you can actually, it's almost like a budget tool where you decide exactly how you want to sell your product, whether it's auction, buy now. You can say, hey, I want to start this product at $10. I only want to spend, $50 promoting the item. So we do provide a lot of control for our sellers, which again is something that they love.
And how do sellers list?
Super easy. So we provide a few different ways. So one, you can add a product individually. I would say the majority of our products are using our bulk upload tool, which is through CSV. Very, very similar to Amazon. The mapping is almost identical. And then the smaller portion, which are more enterprise level, these are sellers with thousands of SKUs. They're using an ERP integration. So we're integrated with Channel Advisor, Listing Mirror, Seller Cloud, and then we also have an option for sellers to link directly to our API.
Mm-hmm. So if I have all my items on Listing Mirror, then I can get my items on Tophatter relatively quickly, right?
Exactly.
Are you guys considered a marketplace facilitator for taxes?
Yes, so we are compliant in the list of states essentially that we have to be in. So we're not getting heavily involved in that, but we do have a support team who can answer any questions about taxes. We have the list of states that we are collecting taxes as well.
Right. I'm just curious, like a small marketplace, because I'm always intrigued by these small marketplaces. I remember Ubid and Overstock and Newegg and online auctions. I remember all of them. I tried selling in all of them. One of the issues they all had was, and they don't realize how much Amazon and eBay puts in to prevent fraud. Like I remember online auctions, people would just go and bid. There were all kinds of abuse which you don't even think of preventing, and you don't even think, and Amazon took care of that. Do you have that issue of just buyers trying to ruin the platform or sellers trying to ruin the platform? Because I'm on the site, and to me it always looks like it's fine. I'm just curious how a small marketplace like yours, is that a challenge for you?
Good question. Currently, it hasn't been a huge challenge for us, and I'll tell you why. So we have a huge buyer support team. So we have pretty sophisticated triggers in our system that link us to fraud. So we can tell if people are just going in, if they're bidding on products and not winning, just to drive up the price. Sometimes we've seen that with sellers trying to game the system. We have a flag that goes off. In those cases, what we do is we actually block that person, whether it's on the buyer side, on the seller side. So we've gotten pretty good at catching that. And then just working with some of our payment partners, we have a lot of those fraud solutions in place as well. So as of now, it hasn't been a huge problem for us. But I think, obviously as we continue to grow, specifically exploring different formats, we're going to have to adjust and adapt and maybe find some different situations that we have to address.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that you've been able to control that. How do you force somebody that bids on an item to pay? I remember eBay had that problem. People would bid and then they would just not pay.
Good question. So we keep track of that. So we have a threshold that we monitor just to make sure, because most of the times we see that it's because a seller has created a buyer account and is trying to raise the price of their items. So what we do in those cases essentially is like shill bidding, but we block the account, suspend them. Try to investigate the situation before we make a decision. I know eBay is super strict. If you get caught shill bidding, you're done. We like to have that full picture before we make a big decision. But again, the buyer support team, seller support teams, they work really closely on those situations.
But you do have like a seller performance type team that monitors the sellers, right?
Correct. So that would be my team. So that would account management, business development. So we have account management who looks after our top accounts. So these are accounts that are typically spending or generating about $30K in sales a month. And then we have a wide team of onboarding associates. So when you create an account, you're assigned an onboarding associate. That person is there to really help you and guide you through the process. And then we also have, support team more for our existing unmanaged sellers, live chat. I would say majority of the questions I see go through our live chat, which is available 8 hours a day through our seller dashboard.
Now, how do you control, to me it seems like on Amazon especially, a lot of the fraud comes from places like China. How do you control that?
Again, I think it goes back to just some of the patterns that we've identified. So in China, we have a pretty strict vetting process for our sellers. In the U.S., it's pretty wide open. So we essentially allow anyone to sell, whether you or I want to sell our shoes, or you're a small, medium-sized business or enterprise. But specifically in China, we have a team who actually vets every registration that comes through. We have a pretty sophisticated product placement process in place where, again, if we have certain categories, taxonomies, or brands, we can automatically put those types of products on hold. And then also we use our payout system. So for new sellers, a little bit more controlled in how fast we pay you, just because we want to make sure that we don't have any instances where, you know, someone comes on, sells a bunch of stuff, either abandons, fake tracking. We've really rolled that into what we call like our incident fee system, which we want to reward sellers who are providing a good experience, and then those are providing a bad experience, really disincentivize them by doing that through this program.
Right. I mean, one thing a marketplace like Tophatter has to use for its advantage is you can check like the Amazon and eBay history.
Exactly.
Right, so that's very good. Okay, thank you very much, Briana. Anything else you want to say in closing to the audience?
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for having us here. You know, I'd love to see some new sellers come and sell on Tophatter. So if you're interested, feel free to check us out.
Okay, you'll give us the link. We'll put it below, and we'll make sure to take care of these sellers.
Amazing. Thanks, Ed.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye-bye.